Hello folks, this morning I wanted to share a short video with you on the Laguiole knife. This is a high standard knife made in Laguiole, France. This is a small town out there in France, and actually here's a map of France, and this would be the Laguiole district right there, and in that little ridge spot right there. That's where they make these knives in the town of Laguiole. Now the locals pronounce it Layole, but the proper French, I suppose, pronunciation is Laguiole. Now these knives are very high end. I ordered this directly from Laguiole in France, and I'll show you the website in a little bit. And it was 130 euros, so about 153 US dollars, something right around there. And the thing about this knife that is so fascinating to me, and the reason I wanted to collect it, and here you can open it up, and you have, it's made of T12 German steel, so very high grade steel. And if you look closely right here, there is a cross on it. You see? Right here, there's a cross. Now, the legend goes, in the village of Layole in France, way back when, not ancient times, but 400 or 500 years ago, most of the men there were sheep herders, and they'd go into the mountains and run their sheep, herd their sheep here, there, and everywhere, and sometimes, depending on the time of year, they'd be out for 3-4 weeks at a time. And in France, then as today, Christianity is the dominant religion, and moreover Catholicism. So what the village knifesmith did for the sheep herders was he embedded this cross into the hilt of the knife, so when lunchtime came or dinner time came, what the sheep herders would do is they would take a chunk of their bread before eating. They would take a chunk of their bread, set it down, and they would stab this knife into it. And then they could see the cross, and they would say their prayers to the cross. This was a point of focus for them to say their prayers before each meal. And then, of course, they take the knife out of the bread and use the knife to cut the bread and the meat and whatever they had in their food sacks for dinner, lunch, or breakfast. And that's the part of it that fascinated me, and I started collecting these. Now, one more interesting thing about these knives is that, you can get the handle in any type of wood you want. This particular handle is made out of pistachio wood, which is a very nice grained wood, I think. And of course, the end points of the knife here, instead of that shiny chrome, I like the brushed chrome. It just has a better depth to it. It looks richer. The knife just looks better, in my opinion. Now, there is one handle that you can get that's made out of mammoth bones, from the old mammoth elephants. And in France, there are a lot of carcasses that they come across when digging and through archaeology and so on and so forth. And they can use that to make the handles because they're extinct. You didn't go hunt them for their ivory. So that ivory can be used. And that one, if we had that mammoth ivory as the handle on this knife, it was going for 1,470 euros. So about $1,623. I couldn't afford that one, so I didn't buy it. But I bought this one for 130 euros, about 153 bucks. And this is the 10 centimeter. So it's a pretty good sized knife, overall, just as a pocket knife. And it's very nice and very high quality. And it's a collector's item. So in the future, I think I'll extend my collection to include all of the different handles. Of course, at some point, if I hit the jackpot or something, I may go for one of those mammoth ivory tusk handles on for 1,470 euros. But who knows? Another knife I had, which is also Layol or Laguiole is this one. Now, this is the first one I bought. And as you can see, it's pretty small compared to this one. It's pretty small. And all the way open, of course, it's quite a bit smaller as well. So when I got this one, it was 90 euros, and I'm kind of cheap, so I figured that's the one I want to buy. But then again, as I said earlier, on the end points of the knife, on the handle, I went with the brushed stainless steel because I just think it's nicer. But as you can see, the handle is kind of thin there. So when it came, the one thing that I really wanted, of course, was like on this one. I showed you the cross and the legend or the myth about that cross and what it was meant for. So that's what I was looking forward to. But it's so thin here, you know, that there was no room for them to put the cross. Of course, they told me in the literature that came with the knife after I ordered it, but nevertheless, I had my knife now. I had my Layol knife, and I figured, okay, that's perfect. I'll keep it, and I'm satisfied. But it started to really bother me that it didn't have the cross, and I didn't want to return this one because it's a very nice pocket knife as well. And since I was going to start collecting them, I figured I'm not giving it back. I'm not sending it back. I'm keeping it. And then, of course, I ordered this one, and this is the 9 centimeter. See, and this is the 10 centimeter. So with the 10 centimeter, you have enough girth or width in the handle where you can put in the staves for the cross. So now I got that. I got both of these, and they're very nice. And I'll be collecting more in the future. So, oh, and I wanted to introduce, of course, another of my air plants that wanted to come in and sit in on our video today. This is Bats, B-A-T-S, Bats. He's one of the comic book characters. He's Doctor Strange. This is Doctor Strange's dog in the comic book, and his name is Bats. He's a ghost dog. Of course, he doesn't look like this in the comic. He looks like a dog, and kind of ghostly looking. But it's one of my favorite characters, so I named this air plant after him, and his name is Bats. And he wanted to come and join us, like I say, during this video today. And I hope he and yourselves enjoyed this little discussion on Laguiole knives. I will put a link down on the bottom to the Laguiole site. That's the direct site over in France that you could order these from if you are interested. Well, that's about it for today. Kindest thoughts, and I'll see you next time.